Captain Arya stood alone inside the silent ship, staring at the empty seat beside her. That seat once belonged to Kale, her alien partner, her shield, her friend. Now it was just metal and leather, cold and lifeless. The hum of the ship's engines filled the air, but for Arya, the silence was louder than any sound. Kale had been more than a soldier. He was from a species known as the Tharkin, strong, tall, with silver eyes that glowed in the dark. He never feared death. He never abandoned her. Every mission they faced together, Kale stood by her side like a wall of iron. But on the last mission, that wall had fallen. They were ambushed on a broken moon, a battlefield filled with fire and smoke. The enemy had set a trap. Explosions ripped through the ground, and Arya had been caught in the open. The blast wave threw her down, tearing her armor apart. She could not move. Her lungs burned, her vision blurred. But then Kale appeared. Carrying her out of the fire, he shielded her with his massive frame, took the damage meant for her. His voice had been calm, even as his body burned. "Run, Arya, live," he whispered. Before falling into the flames, that was the last moment. She saw him alive. Arya had escaped, but escape did not feel like victory. It felt like betrayal. Her hands shook whenever she remembered his final look, a look that said he trusted her to go on, even without him. But she did not want to go on. She wanted Kale back. She wanted to blame someone, and the easiest target was her own kind humans. It was humans who gave the orders, humans who sent them on that mission. And now the Council of Commanders had sent her a message. She would be given a new partner, not a Tharkin, not another alien soldier, but a human. Her jaw tightened when she read the orders. Her heart filled with anger. "How dare they?" she muttered, her voice sharp like broken glass. "They think a human can replace Kale? They think anyone can replace him?" That night, she could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Kale's final stand. Every time she tried to rest, she heard his last words. She pressed her hands against her ears, trying to shut out the memories, but the silence only made it louder. The next morning, she stood in the hangar where the soldiers gathered. Ships lined the walls, weapons stacked in rows, and there he was, her new partner. Ethan, he was human, young but not too young, with sharp eyes and a calm face. He stood straight, disciplined, carrying his gear with quiet confidence. When he looked at her, he gave a small, respectful nod. "Captain Arya," he said simply. But Arya's heart turned cold. She gave him no smile, no warmth, only a cold stare. She turned away, muttering under her breath, "You will never be Kale." The day passed with silence between them. Arya refused to talk, refused to share. Ethan did not push her. He only observed. His calm made her even more angry. She wanted him to fail, to prove her belief right. That humans were weak, unworthy, unwanted, but fate had other plans. Later that evening, an alarm echoed through the base. Strange signals had been detected. The source came from the same planet where Kale had fallen. The commanders ordered Arya and Ethan to investigate. Arya's chest tightened when she heard the location. The broken moon, the battlefield of fire and loss. The place where Kale had died. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to scream. But her orders were clear, and she was still a soldier. With heavy steps, she prepared her ship. Ethan followed quietly, ready for the mission. She did not look at him. But inside, her thoughts screamed, why now? Why that place? Why with him? As the ship left the hangar, Arya sat in silence. The stars passed by outside the window. Her hands gripped the controls tightly. Ethan sat beside her, calm and steady. But for Arya, the seat beside her was still Kale's. Always Kale's, and no human could ever take it. As the ship neared the broken moon, her heart raced. The scanners began to flicker, showing strange readings. And then, through the static of the comms, a faint sound broke through. A voice, her. Eyes widened, her breath caught. It was distorted, broken, but she knew that sound. It was Kale. Whispering her name, Arya's heart stopped. Her mind spun between hope and fear. Could it be him? Or was it a cruel trick of the battlefield? She leaned closer, her lips trembling. "Kale?" she whispered. The ship's alarms blared. The signal grew stronger. The hook of fate pulled her deeper into the storm. And beside her, Ethan looked. At her with calm eyes. Not knowing that her world had just been torn open again, the ship touched down on the surface of the broken moon. The land stretched before them like a graveyard, filled with shadows and twisted metal. The remains of alien machines still burned faintly. As if the war never truly ended here, Arya stepped out, her boots sinking into the dust, her eyes scanning the horizon with a cold fire. This was the place Kale had died, the place where her heart had been shattered, and now she was forced to return here. With a stranger beside her, Ethan followed, moving quietly but with careful discipline. He adjusted his helmet, his rifle steady in his hands. He was trained. That much was clear. But to Arya, he was still only human, only flesh and bone, fragile and temporary. Nothing like Kale's towering alien strength. Nothing like his silver eyes that once glowed through the dark. The coms crackled as the command center sent instructions. Scan the area, locate the source of the signal, and report back. Arya answered with a sharp tone. "Copy, Ethan." Gave no response. He only nodded and started scanning the terrain with his visor. They walked in silence, the wind howling around them, carrying with it whispers of the past. Every broken machine, every scorched crater reminded Arya of Kale. Her chest ached, but she buried the pain under anger. Ethan noticed her clenched fists, her rigid steps, but he said nothing. The signal grew stronger as they moved deeper into the ruins. A faint hum vibrated through the air. Almost alive, Arya's pulse quickened, her mind torn between fear and hope. Could it really be Kale? Could some part of him still exist here, trapped in the machines? Her heart wanted to believe, but her soldier's mind whispered caution. She hated herself for hoping. Suddenly, a flash of movement appeared among the ruins. Figures, mechanical and sharp, their eyes glowing red. Alien drones, long forgotten but still active, programmed to kill intruders. Without hesitation, they attacked. Beams of plasma shot across the air, scorching the ground near Arya. She raised her weapon and fired back, her shots precise, her rage pouring into. Every pull of the trigger, Ethan took cover behind a broken wall, returning fire with calm accuracy. But Arya barely noticed him. Her mind screamed, if Kale were here, this fight would already be over. The drones moved quickly. Surrounding them, one lunged toward Arya, its claws reaching for her throat. She fired, but her gun jammed. The mechanism locked in the dust. Her eyes widened as the machine closed in. But before it could strike, Ethan rushed forward, slamming his rifle into the drone's head and firing point blank. The machine exploded in sparks. Collapsing to the ground, Arya stumbled back, staring at him, her breath heavy. He had just saved her life. But instead of gratitude, her anger only grew. Her voice came sharp. Don't think this means anything. Ethan only met her eyes for a second before turning back to the fight. Another drone leapt forward, and he shot it down with deadly precision. Calm, focused, unshaken, Arya gritted her teeth, refusing to admit what she had seen. But deep inside, a part of her could not deny it. He was strong, stronger than she expected. The last drone fell, its body smoking on the ground. The silence returned, broken only by the low hum of the strange signal. Arya reloaded her weapon with angry force. Ethan scanned the horizon again, his voice steady. We need to move. A signal is ahead. Arya did not like his calm tone. She wanted to hear fear, hesitation, anything human. But instead, he sounded unshaken, almost cold. Just like Kale once did, they moved forward, tension thick between them. Arya refused to walk beside him, always staying a step ahead. Her mind replayed the moment he saved her, and it made her furious, because every time he acted with strength, with calmness, he reminded her of Kale. And she did not want a reminder. She wanted Kale himself. As they reached the center of the ruins, the signal grew louder, almost deafening. The air shimmered with static. Machines buried deep in the ground began to pulse with light. Arya's visor displayed strange patterns, symbols she could not read. Her hands trembled as the sound grew clearer, the voice again, distorted but undeniable. It was Kale, whispering through the static, "Arya, come to me." Her breath caught, her heart raced. Ethan froze, his visor picking up the same frequency. But unlike Arya, his instincts screamed danger. He turned to her quickly, his voice sharp for the first time. "That's not him. It's a trap." Arya's eyes filled with fire as she snapped back. "You don't know him. You don't know anything." She pushed forward, chasing the voice, refusing to listen. Ethan cursed under his breath, but followed, unwilling to let her face it alone. The ruins shifted around them, as if the machines themselves were waking. The ground trembled. Lights flickered in the shadows. Every step forward filled the air with more tension, more fear, more hope. And as the static turned into words, Kale's voice grew stronger, so strong it felt like he was standing right in front of her. "Arya, I'm waiting." Her eyes burned with tears she refused to shed. Her heart screamed with longing. And for the first time, Ethan saw not just a soldier in her eyes, but a broken soul chasing a ghost. He tightened his grip on his rifle, knowing that whatever lay ahead was more dangerous than any battlefield, because sometimes the most dangerous enemy was hope itself. The ruins of the broken moon stretched like a graveyard of giants. Shattered towers rose crooked against the black sky, glowing faintly with alien symbols that flickered on and off like dying stars. The air was heavy with dust and static, and every breath felt like it carried the memory of battles long past. Arya walked with her rifle drawn, her eyes locked on the flickering signals that called her deeper into the ruins. Ethan stayed close, his steps quiet but alert, his visor scanning every shadow. The silence between them was sharp, filled with words unspoken, but the signal cut through that silence, pulling Arya forward like a whisper in her bones. The voice came again, broken and distorted. "Arya, follow. I am here." Her chest tightened, her heart hammering against her armor. It was Kale's voice. She knew it. No matter how broken, no matter how static-filled, she would never forget that sound. But Ethan's voice broke her trance, firm and cold. "It isn't him. Something is imitating. Something wants us deeper." Arya spun toward him, her eyes filled with fire. "You don't know him. Don't pretend you do." Her words cut like a blade. But Ethan didn't flinch. He only turned his gaze back to the ruins, his rifle steady. He was ready for whatever came, even if she wasn't. The path narrowed as they descended into a canyon of stone and wreckage. Metal bones of alien war machines jutted from the ground, their shapes twisted, their wires spilling out like veins. Every step echoed too loud, like the ruins themselves were listening. And then a low vibration spread through the earth. The ground trembled under their boots. Dust fell from the walls as if the moon itself was alive. Ethan froze, scanning the ground with his visor. "There are power sources beneath us." "Active ones," he said, his tone sharp. Arya's hand shook against her weapon. If the machine still lived, then maybe Kale's voice could be real. That thought gave her strength. Even as fear wrapped around her chest, they moved cautiously, but the ruins seemed to twist and shift around them. The symbols on the walls glowed brighter as they walked, patterns forming and breaking. Strange echoes bounced from the canyon walls. Not only Kale's voice now, but whispers, hundreds of whispers. Some sounded like soldiers long dead, calling out orders. calling for help. Others sounded like screams. Arya clenched her teeth, trying to block them out, but the voices pushed into her mind like needles. Ethan touched her arm for a moment, grounding her. "Focus, Captain. Don't let it in," he said firmly. She pulled away from his touch, but his words stayed. The danger here was not only in the machines, but in the mind. A shadow moved ahead, tall and sharp. Arya froze. Her breath caught. For a moment, she swore she saw Kale standing there, silver eyes glowing in the dark. Her lips parted, her voice shaking. "Kale!" She stepped forward, but Ethan's hand shot out, pulling her back hard. The shadow flickered and shifted, revealing not Kale, but a drone taller than the ones before. Its frame armored, its claws sharper. The machine screeched as red light burst from its chest, signaling the others. Dozens of drones rose from the ruins, their eyes burning like fire. The canyon lit up with crimson light as they moved in unison, surrounding the two soldiers. Arya fired first, her rage pouring into every shot. The drones shattered, but more came, crawling out of the ground, dropping from the cliffs. Ethan fought beside her, every movement precise. Calm, unshaken, he fired, dodged, struck with brutal efficiency, but the swarm was endless. Arya's breath grew heavy, her ammo counter dropping fast. The voices grew louder, filling her ears. Kale's voice rose above them all. "Arya? Deeper, I wait for you." She hesitated, her aim faltering. Ethan saw it, his jaw tightening. "It's a lure, can't you see?" He shouted over the gunfire, but Arya's eyes burned with stubborn fire. "I can't leave him. I won't," she screamed. The ground split suddenly, a fissure opening beneath them. The drones halted, pulling back as the earth shook violently. From the darkness below, a light glowed, cold and silver, the same light that once shone from Kale's eyes. Arya's heart nearly broke. Her knees weak, she whispered his name again, tears threatening her eyes. "Kale!" Ethan grabbed her shoulder, dragging her back as debris fell around them. "Think, Arya, it's not him. It's a trap," he said. But even his steady voice wavered, for the light was too perfect, too real. The fissure widened, revealing a cavern below, filled with alien machines that pulsed like a living heart. And in the center of that cavern, a towering machine turned its head toward them. Its frame was twisted, its face incomplete, but its eyes shone silver, and when it spoke, the voice was Kale's. "Arya, you found me." The words tore through her. Hope and horror mixed in her chest until she could not breathe. Ethan raised his rifle instantly, his instincts screaming. But Arya could not move. Her mind screamed only one thought. If this was Kale, then she had to reach him. If it wasn't, then she would burn with the truth. The silver eyes locked onto hers, and the machine stepped forward. The ruins trembled, the whispers grew louder, and Arya realized, too late, that she had walked into the shadow of something far greater than. She understood. The cavern spread out like a black wound in the earth, its walls alive with alien machines that pulsed and twitched like veins under skin. The silver light glowed from the center, and with every flicker, the air filled with Kale's voice. "Arya, I am here. Come closer." The sound wrapped around her like chains, pulling her forward step by step. Her legs moved on their own, her heart racing faster with every word. Ethan's hand shot out, grabbing her arm tightly, his voice cutting through the noise. "Stop, it's not him. Can't you see?" But Arya's eyes were wide, shimmering with tears. Her voice cracked as she whispered back, "I know his voice. I know it." The machine at the center tilted its head, its silver eyes glowing brighter. The face was not complete. Jagged metal shaped like Kale's features, but broken, still in the shadows. It looked enough like him to break her heart. "Arya, you left me, but you can fix it. Come." The voice echoed inside her skull, and she felt her chest tighten until she could not breathe. Her mind screamed with memories. Cale saving her from fire, Cale laughing after a victory, Cale's final words. She wanted to believe he was alive. She needed to believe. Ethan pulled her harder, forcing her to face him. His eyes were sharp, his tone colder than before. Listen to me, it's not Cale. It's something using him. It's bait. But Arya shoved his hand away, her anger spilling out. You don't understand. You weren't there. You didn't see him fall for me. You don't know what I lost. Her voice cracked, her breath shaking. Ethan's jaw clenched, but his tone stayed firm. And if you run into that thing, you'll lose yourself too. The walls of the cavern shifted suddenly, symbols glowing brighter. The whispers around them turned into screams, voices layering on top of Cale's. Ethan raised his rifle, scanning. The walls, dozens of red eyes appeared in the darkness, drones crawling out like insects. They moved in perfect sync, circling the two soldiers. But none of them attacked. They only waited, as if commanded to hold back. And then Cale's voice came again, stronger than ever. Arya, they will not harm you. Come to me, come. Her knees weakened, her weapon lowering. The sound was too real, too familiar. She stepped forward again, ignoring Ethan's sharp curse behind her. Her boots crunched on the metal floor, echoing through the cavern. The silver-eyed machine extended a hand made of jagged steel. It looked broken, but in her mind, she saw Cale's hand reaching for hers. Together again, Arya. Forever. Her fingers twitched, almost lifting toward him, but then a blinding flash of movement cut across her path. Ethan slammed his shoulder into her, dragging her back just as the ground split open. From the crack, black tendrils of metal lashed out, sharp and alive, striking the ground where she had stood. The machine's voice distorted, glitching for a moment. Come, come, come to me. The cavern shook as the tendrils whipped around them, smashing walls and tearing stone apart. Arya gasped, realization breaking through her haze for the first time. The machine had tried to trap her, to drag her down into its core. Her heart pounded, shame and fear mixing. Ethan pulled her to her feet, his voice filled with urgency. Do you believe me now? But Arya could not answer, her mind still torn, because the voice still sounded like Cale. Even as the tendrils struck again, she wanted to believe. The drones surrounding them finally moved, surging forward like a wave. Ethan opened fire, his shots tearing through the first line. Move, Captain, move! He shouted, his voice cutting sharp. Arya snapped out of her trance, firing back. Her bullets ripped through the machines, sparks filling the air. But for every drone that fell, two more climbed from the shadows. The cavern roared with metal and fire, the screams of machines mixing with Cale's voice. Arya, don't fight me. Don't fight us. They pushed deeper into the cavern, trying to break through the swarm. Arya's visor flickered with warnings, ammo low, power draining. Ethan's armor was scorched, his breathing heavy but steady. Through the chaos, Arya kept hearing Cale's voice, every word slicing her heart, every whisper pulling her closer. You left me, Arya, but here, you can make it right. Just let go. Her hands shook, her vision blurred. She wanted to drop her weapon, to surrender, but Ethan's voice tore through the storm again, loud and unyielding. Stay with me, Arya. Fight it. Fight him. Or whatever it is. His words struck her like fire. She looked at him, burned, exhausted, bleeding, but still fighting for her. For her, even though she hated him. Her teeth clenched, her grip tightened on the rifle. She turned her fire on the drones with fury, blasting them apart one after another. Her scream echoed through the cavern, raw and broken. Cale is gone. You are not him. The silver-eyed machine paused, its head tilting as if confused. The voice glitched again, static breaking through. Not gone. We are Kale. The cavern walls cracked, more tendrils bursting out. The ground shook so violently, it felt like the moon itself was alive. Ethan grabbed her arm, pulling her toward a narrow tunnel at the far end. "We can't fight them all, move." Arya stumbled after him, her heart torn between the truth and the lie. As they ran, the voice followed them, echoing through every wall, every shadow. "Arya, you cannot run. You will return. You are mine." The tunnel closed around them, the sounds of the swarm fading behind. But Kale's voice still lingered in her mind, sharp and cold. She pressed her hands against her helmet, trying to shut it out. Her voice broke into a whisper. "If it's not him, why does it sound so real?" Ethan looked at her, his face lit by the dim red glow of his visor. And for the first time, his voice softened, "Because it knows your pain, and it's using it against you." The tunnel stretched ahead, filled with shadows and silence. But for Arya, the silence was no relief, because inside her mind, Kale's voice still whispered, not weaker, but closer. "Arya, I am waiting." The tunnel carried them deeper into the broken moon, the walls glowing faintly with shifting alien symbols. The air was heavy, almost liquid, filled with a humming that pressed against their skulls. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the ground itself wanted to keep them inside. Ethan led the way, his rifle raised, his visor sweeping the darkness. Arya followed close, her mind a storm, her heart torn between fear and desperate hope. Kale's voice still whispered in her ears, not fading, but stronger, clearer, closer. "Arya, you are so close." Her breaths grew shallow, her chest tight. She wanted to believe. She wanted to run forward, to throw herself into the voice. But Ethan's steady presence beside her kept her tethered. Every time her steps wavered, his voice came sharp. "Stay alert, Captain. Don't lose yourself now." She hated his tone, hated his control, but deep inside she needed it, because without it, she would already be running into the dark. The tunnel opened into a vast chamber, a cathedral of alien metal, columns of twisted steel reached toward the ceiling, glowing with silver veins of light. At the center stood a massive structure, a machine shaped like a cocoon, pulsing as if alive. The voice of Kale poured out from it, louder than ever. "Arya, inside, I wait. I am whole again." Her eyes filled with tears, her hands shaking as she lifted her visor to see it clearer. The cocoon throbbed with light, almost like a beating heart. She whispered, her voice trembling, "Kale, is it really you?" Ethan stepped in front of her, blocking her view. His voice was sharp, urgent. "Look at it, Arya. It's a machine, not him." But she shoved him aside, her rage flaring. "You don't know. You weren't there. You didn't hear his last words." Her voice broke, the pain spilling out like blood. Ethan's jaw tightened, his eyes hard. "And if you keep chasing ghosts, you'll join him in the grave." Before she could answer, the cocoon split open with a deafening screech. Metal peeled away, sparks bursting like lightning. From inside, a figure stepped forward, towering, half machine, half flesh. Its body was broken, jagged, stitched together by wires and steel. But its face, oh, its face, was Kale's, silver eyes burning bright, though twisted, unnatural. Arya's heart stopped, her knees weak. She whispered his name again. "Kale." The creature tilted its head, its voice breaking the static. "Arya, you came. You saved me." Her chest swelled with hope, but Ethan's rifle was already aimed, his tone fierce. "That's not him. Look at it. It's a copy, a puppet." But Arya's eyes refused to believe. Her mind filled only with Kale's voice, Kale's eyes, Kale's presence. She lowered her weapon, stepping closer. The creature extended a hand, broken metal fingers twitching. "Together?" "Again," it whispered. Suddenly the chamber roared to life. Dozens of drones poured from the walls, forming a circle. Around them, the silver-eyed creature turned its gaze on Ethan, its voice dropping to a growl. "You are not needed." The drones moved in unison, their weapons raised toward Ethan. Arya gasped, frozen between choice and fear. The creature turned back to her, its voice soft again. "But you, Arya, you belong with me," her heart screamed. Her mind fractured. Part of her wanted to run into Kale's arms, to feel whole again. But another part whispered the truth, the way its body twitched unnaturally, the way the whispers filled the chamber like a hive. Kale's voice was there, but wrong, distorted. Ethan's voice cut through, raw and urgent. "Arya, look at it. The thing isn't Kale. It's using him. It's a trap." But the creature stepped closer, its silver eyes glowing brighter. Arya's body trembled, caught between love and terror. Then the truth revealed itself. The creature's voice glitched, splitting into many, dozens of overlapping tones, deep and high, alien and human. The chamber itself seemed to speak. "We are Kale. We are many. Join us, Arya." Her blood ran cold, her heart collapsing into horror. This was not Kale, not truly. It was something else, something that had devoured his voice, his memories, his sacrifice. Her breath shook as she whispered, "What have they done to you?" The drones surged forward, weapons firing. Ethan shoved her down, blasts tearing past them. He fired back with deadly precision, sparks raining from the walls. "Arya, snap out of it. We need to move." But Arya's eyes stayed on the creature, her voice breaking. "Kale, if you're in there, if any part of you is real, tell me." The creature paused, its body twitching violently. For a moment, the silver eyes flickered, and in the static, a softer voice emerged. "Arya, run." Her heart stopped her. Breath stolen. Was it him? Was it really him, trapped inside the machine? The creature roared suddenly, drowning out the moment, its voice fractured, screaming in fury. "Nitrogen monoxide. She stays. She is ours." The ground shook. Tendrils of metal burst from the floor, slamming around them like cages. The chamber collapsed into chaos. Ethan dragged her to her feet, pulling her toward a gap in the drones. She stumbled after him, her mind torn to pieces, because in that moment she knew two things. A creature was a trap, a monster, but somewhere inside it, a part of Kale still lived, and she would have to choose destroy it or try to save him. The silver eyes burned through the chaos, locked onto hers. "Arya, don't leave me again." Her tears blurred her vision, her screams lost in the roar of machines, and deep inside she felt the cruelest truth of all. Hope itself was the deadliest weapon in the room. The chamber shook as if the moon itself was alive. The drones swarmed like a flood of metal, their red eyes glowing in the darkness, their claws tearing at the walls. The corrupted Kale, the creature that wore his face, stood tall at the center, its silver eyes burning like twin stars. "Arya, you are mine," the voice echoed, layered with static and screams. Arya's heart twisted, her breath sharp and broken. Part of her still wanted to believe, to hope, to run to him. But another part screamed at her that this was not Kale, that it never had been. Ethan's rifle roared, each shot blasting through drones that lunged toward them. "Arya, move. Don't just stand there." He shouted, his voice fierce, but she could barely hear him through the storm in her mind. Her visor flickered with warnings, her ammo count dropping, her oxygen draining. Still, the voice of Kale pierced through all of it. "Don't fight me. Arya, fight with me. Together forever." Her weapon trembled in her hands, her aim faltering. She whispered his name again, her voice like a wound. "Kale, if you're in there, tell me." For a heartbeat, the creature froze, its silver eyes flickering, and then, through the distortion, a softer tone emerged. Arya, please. Her chest heaved, her hope flared, but before she could move, Ethan grabbed her arm and yanked her back as a tendril of steel slammed into the ground where she had stood. The blast knocked her to her knees, sparks exploding. Around them, Ethan stood between her and the monster, his rifle raised, his body tense. "Listen to me, Captain. It's not him. It's never been him," he barked. The creature roared, its voice splitting into hundreds. "She is ours, human. You cannot save her." The drone surged forward, claws scraping across the floor. Ethan fired until his rifle overheated, tossing it aside and pulling out his blade. He fought with fury, slicing through machines, his armor cracking, his arms bleeding. Arya stared in shock. He fought like Kale once did, unshaken, unafraid. He fought as if he had nothing to lose. The corrupted Kale stepped closer, its body glitching, tendrils whipping from its frame. It looked at Arya, ignoring Ethan completely. "Why do you hide behind him, Arya? Why do you let him take what is yours?" The words cut her soul like glass. Her hands shook as she raised her weapon again, her tears falling inside her helmet. She wanted to end it, to shoot, but her heart rebelled, screaming at her that she was killing Kale all over again. Her finger froze on the trigger. The creature lunged forward, tendrils smashing toward her, but Ethan threw himself in front of her, his blade slashing wildly. The metal whipped across his armor, tearing into him, blood spraying into the air. He grunted in pain, but did not fall. Instead, he shoved her back, his voice raw with anger. "Shoot it, Arya. For God's sake, shoot it." Her vision blurred, her screams choking her throat. I can't. It's him." Ethan's eyes burned into hers, furious and desperate. "No, it's not him. It's you who can't let go." The words stabbed deeper than any weapon, because they were true. She was clinging to a ghost, clinging to a memory, and it was going to kill them both. The creature raised its arm, claws glowing with energy. It swung down with killing force. Ethan shoved her aside and took the blow. The claws tore across his chest, ripping armor and flesh. His body crashed against the ground, blood pouring from his wounds. Arya screamed his name, her voice breaking, "Ethan!" But even half dead, he forced himself to stand, his blade still in his hands. He staggered toward the monster, his body trembling. "You'll never have her," he growled. The drones swarmed him, claws tearing, blades striking, but he fought like a man possessed, every move fueled by fury. Arya's heart cracked as she watched him, this human she swore she hated. He was bleeding, dying, yet he still fought for her. Not because he wanted to replace Kale, not because of orders, but because he refused to let her die. Tears blinded her eyes, rage burned in her chest. She raised her weapon, screaming, "You are not Kale." Her shots tore through the corrupted figure, blasting chunks of metal from its frame. The creature roared, its silver eyes flickering violently. The voice fractured, half Kale, half alien. "Arya, why do you betray me?" Her scream tore from her throat. "Because Kale is gone." The chamber exploded in chaos, the cocoon pulsing like a heart in collapse. The creature staggered, its tendrils flailing, its voice breaking into static. The drones froze, twitching as if connected to its pain. Arya kept firing until her rifle clicked empty, her breath heavy, her tears falling, her heart shattered. But her mind clear at last. Ethan collapsed beside her, his body broken, his breath shallow. She dropped her weapon and crawled to him, her hands shaking as she pressed against his wounds. "Stay with me, Ethan, stay," she whispered. His lips curled into the faintest smile, his voice weak but steady. "You finally see it now, don't you, Captain?" Her tears fell on his armor as she nodded, her voice breaking. "I see it. You're not Kale's shadow. You're..." "You?" The ground shook again, the chamber collapsing. The corrupted Kale rose one last time, its silver eyes dim but burning with hate. It staggered toward them, broken, sparking. Arya grabbed Ethan's blade, her hands trembling but firm. She stood between him and the creature, her voice fierce. "You took Kale, but you will not take him." With a scream that ripped from her very soul, she charged. The blade drove deep into the creature's chest, tearing through wires and steel. Its voice shattered into screams, static and pain. "Arya! Arya!" The silver eyes dimmed, the light fading. The corrupted Kale collapsed into the dust, sparks scattering like stars, and with it, the swarm of drones fell silent. Crashing to the ground like lifeless husks, Arya dropped to her knees, the blade clattering from her hands. Her chest heaved, her body shaking. Kale was truly gone now, gone forever. Her tears blurred her vision, but when she turned, she saw Ethan lying broken, bleeding, and in that moment, she realized something she never thought she would. Kale had died saving her once, and now Ethan had nearly done the same. Her hands clutched his armor, her voice raw. "Don't die on me. Please, not you too." Ethan's eyes half closed, his smile faint. "That's what partners do?" Then his head tilted back, his breath shallow, his life fading, and Arya screamed into the collapsing chamber, a scream of rage, loss, and a truth too cruel to bear. The chamber collapsed around them, the sound of falling stone and snapping metal. Echoing like thunder, the corrupted Kale's body lay broken in the dust, its silver eyes dark at last. The drones had fallen silent, their twisted frames scattered across the floor. But for Arya, there was no victory, only silence, only loss. She knelt beside Ethan, his blood seeping into the cracked ground, her hands pressed desperately against his wounds, her voice breaking. "Stay with me, Ethan. Don't you dare leave me too." His eyes fluttered open, his breath shallow, pain carved deep into his face, but his voice carried strength even now. "You finally see me, don't you?" he whispered. Her tears fell onto his armor, her voice trembling. "Yes, I see you. I was blind before, but not now." Her chest ached with guilt, the weight of Kale's ghost pressing heavy on her heart. All this time she had hated Ethan, pushed him away, because she couldn't let go. But now, here in the ruins, she finally understood. Ethan had not tried to replace Kale. He had only tried to stand beside her. The ground shook again, the chamber tearing apart. Flames and sparks rained down, smoke filling the air. Ethan tried to rise but collapsed with a groan. Arya grabbed him, her voice fierce through the tears. "No, I'm not leaving you. I will carry you out myself if I have to." Her arms strained. As she pulled him up, his weight heavy against her, each step felt impossible, the tunnel ahead collapsing piece by piece. But she forced her body forward, one step, then another, her voice whispering through clenched teeth. "I won't lose another partner. Not again." The path shook violently, tendrils of broken metal whipping from the walls like dying serpents. Arya fired what ammo she had left, blasting them aside. As she dragged Ethan forward, the exit glowed faintly ahead, a sliver of light beyond the smoke. Every breath was agony, every step a battle, but she refused to stop, refused to surrender. Behind her, the corrupted cocoon pulsed one last time. A final burst of static filled the air, and Kale's voice whispered faintly, almost tender, "Arya?" She froze for a moment, her heart tearing apart. The voice was softer now, almost real, almost him. But she shook her head violently, her teeth clenched. "No, you're gone. I let you go." Her tears blurred her vision, but her steps grew. Stronger, she carried Ethan into the light, away from the whispers, away from the lies. The tunnel collapsed behind them with a deafening roar, sealing the ruins forever. The air outside was thin, the sky broken with distant stars. Arya dropped to her knees, lowering Ethan gently to the ground. Her chest heaved, her arms trembling from exhaustion. Ethan's face was pale, his breath uneven, but his eyes opened again, locking onto hers. And for the first time, she did not see a replacement. She saw a partner. She held his hand tightly, her voice shaking but firm. "You didn't replace him, Ethan. You saved me in your own way." A faint smile touched his lips, blood staining his teeth. "That's what partners do," he whispered. Her tears fell freely now, her heart breaking open. Cale's ghost still lingered in her soul, but no longer. As a chain, now he was a memory, and beside her was the living truth. Above them, the stars flickered faintly. The war was not over. The galaxy was still broken. But in this moment, Arya felt a strength she had thought lost, not because Cale had returned, but because Ethan had stood, fought, and bled for her. She leaned closer, whispering, "I trust you. I finally trust you." His eyes closed, but his hand squeezed hers weakly. And in that fragile gesture, she felt the truth. The ruins behind them were silent now. But as the wind carried across the broken moon, a faint hum echoed in the distance. So faint it could have been the wind, or perhaps something else. Cale's voice, buried deep in the machines, whispering one last time. "Arya." She turned her head sharply, her heart trembling, but there was nothing. Only shadows and silence. Her chest rose and fell, torn between fear and peace. Ethan stirred beside her, his weak voice pulling her back. "Don't look back." "Captain." "Not anymore." She nodded slowly, her grip tightening around his hand, her voice breaking into a whisper. "No, I won't. I have a partner now." The stars stretched endlessly above them, cold and eternal, and as she looked at them, for the first time in years, she felt something she thought she had lost forever: hope.